Tony Cascarino, who is with me, Natalie Sawyer, as we take you through until the Sunday edition at 9. Here are some of your headlines this morning. Tottenham will complete the signing of defender Kevin Danso for a permanent fee or permanent transfer of around 21 million from Lens. Johnny Heitinga has left his role as Liverpool's assistant boss to return to the Dutch club Ajax, this time as their head coach. And despite winning the Conference League last Wednesday, the Chelsea legend Gianfranco Zola still believes the Blues still have a way to go until they are competing for the Premier League.
You know how competitive is Premier League titles. You have teams that they have youth, they have experience, they have quality. So Chelsea has been growing a lot, and I think this year, in terms of experience, they gain a lot. They will have to raise the bar because obviously the Premier League is a little bit higher than this, and so therefore they will need to be better in the future. But it's very encouraging. As I said, yesterday was a very good test because Real Betis is a good team, very experienced with a lot of quality, and the way they handle is very encouraging. So I believe that they will be competitors for the next year. And allow me to say that Maresca has been very good this year. He started the job from the beginning, and he built the team slowly. He had a rough time, but he came back very strong. So I want to congratulate his work. It's been very good.
So that was the Chelsea legend, Gianfranco Zola, who, by the way, has set up an ice cream company. Did you know this?
No.
Yeah, I think it's with Roberto Di Matteo, if I remember serves right, because they served it at the NMA as a little side. It was
good.
Lovely ice cream. I had pistachio and it was great. Sorry, I digress. But, obviously interesting to hear what he has to say there. And when you look over the course of the season, what Chelsea have done, winning the Conference League, so coming away with a European trophy, which guarantees them European football, but they kind of guarantee Champions League football by finishing fourth in the Premier League, all coming down to that final game of the season at Nottingham Forest. Chelsea, in the early part of the season, looked as though they were a rival for Liverpool, and it got to the sort of December period, kind of started to fall away. Look at 2025, their away form, not the best at all. Do you think Chelsea, with now the experience of having a season under Maresca, with those sort of younger players starting to get bedded in more and more, now winning a major European trophy as well, with Champions League football to come, could this be a team that can now compete at the top end of the Premier League, not just for the Champions League places, but for the title?
Well, I look at Chelsea, and I thought the final against Real Betis typified their season. Okay. For 45 minutes, poor. Yeah. Didn't play well. Second half, superb. People like Cole Palmer. Obviously, I look at Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, their performances, made a massive difference. And I've watched Chelsea a lot this year, and I haven't seen many, I'd say 90-minute performances, but 90 is probably a bit of a stretch. I think 70 minutes and beyond performances regularly that are that standard. Right. I think Chelsea have played too much for half a game. Have looked good. I've seen them numerous times fall. Really good side. I remember coming away from Crystal Palace, and I've mentioned it before, and other games where I thought they're a good side. 70, 80 minutes, they're a good side. Absolutely dominating the game, and then suddenly giving things away. And I think that's the final was a typical of their season, of not a side that are complete for a large amount of the game. I think they're in and out of games at times. Which
I think is what Zola was saying there. The consistency is the biggest issue for Enzo Maresca.
I think there's a recruitment side defensively that just, it's a pity that Reece James is not playing 2 games a week. It looks like he's playing one, and if he plays one, he's not going to play in the game in midweek because he's still recovering from a very bad injury. But Reece James is a terrific fullback. When you see him at his best, he's a real handful for lots of teams. But they're close, Chelsea. I still think there's a lot of work to be done between them and actually really fighting for the title over the course of a season.
Yeah, like I say, it was interesting because Maresca was always very firm throughout the season, especially the early parts. I mentioned that we're not in a title race. race. Jason Cundy, I remember going to Chelsea-Brentford in December where Chelsea won 2-1, if I remember rightly. And again, seeing him after the game, and I was saying, you're in the title race, you're definitely in the title race. And at that point, he was like, no, we're not ready for it. We're not ready for it. It seems as though they're still obviously sticking with going down the younger route when it comes to recruitment. Liam Delap is a player that's heavily been linked now with a move to them, with Christopher Nkunku perhaps leaving. What do you make of the Liam Delap move? Is that right for Liam Delap? And also, is that the right type of player that Chelsea need?
Well, the jury's going to be out with Nicholas Jackson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nkunku has been a real surprise to me. He's just never got going at Chelsea at all. And, done really well in Germany, but still hasn't got going here. And I look at Jackson, and him getting injured made me laugh now. When you see a player get injured and he goes on the one-on-one, he takes a bad touch and makes a bit of it messes up the chance to score. And then he gets taken off, whether he's got his hamstring injury or whatever he's going on, and comes off injured. And then you see him in the celebration afterwards, he's running around, and you're like, well, you were sort of...
That's just the euphoria and the ecstasy taking over.
I like Jackson in lots of ways. I just don't think he's clinical enough, and that's what Chelsea have had. And I've said this about Núñez. The downside for Darwin Núñez for me was always his finishing.
Yeah,
it was going to cost Liverpool, and he wouldn't be over the course of the season. You weren't going to win a title with Darwin Núñez as your centre forward. I look at Jackson and think they're not going to win the title with Jackson as their centre forward.
Are they going to win the title with Liam Delap?
No, but I think that they're edging closer. I mean, look, he's still got a lot to prove now. You can't go from being, being a player at Ipswich and, you've done well, and then suddenly expectations of you're a title difference. He's not a title difference, but I do think he's an upgrade from Jackson.
It's an interesting one, is it? Because, 12 goals he scored in his first season in the Premier League with Ipswich, so that's not a bad return for your first.
He's done well. He's done really well.
He's only, 22? As I say, there's this real onus on Chelsea to sign young players.
Yeah.
Is he too young? Is he too inexperienced, as you say, to be a difference maker?
Well, no, when you're signing young players, there's obviously standout ones of when Rooney left Everton at 17, but he was a freak of nature. Is Liam Delap that? No, I wouldn't say he's that, but he's an improving player that's got a lot to offer. He really leads the line well. He'll chip in with goals. He's a handful. He's versatile, and the way you can play him, he's got lots of great assets to his game.
Yeah.
But I don't see Didier Drogba came, I think he joined Chelsea at 23, something like that.
Okay.
And the first year didn't play particularly well.
But it's the potential that they're seeing.
Yeah, he moved on. And I think that Chelsea are looking at a guy that there's a lot more in there to come from Liam Delap. And look, there's other clubs wanting him as well. So, I do. I still think it'll be a hard push to see Chelsea winning the title next year. I did think all along that they'd make the Champions League because they're good enough. They are good enough. They've got a lot of good players in that squad.
It was interesting last week because you did call a few of the results that happened. You thought Chelsea would win at Forest. You even said you thought Everton would beat Newcastle. Well, most of us were like, don't be silly. Newcastle, they know what they have to do. They need to get the job done. I know it didn't matter in the end because of what happened at Old Trafford. But you're a bit of a soothsayer, aren't you?
No, look, you get them wrong as well now. I mean,
take the pride.
Of course you do.
Take the praise.
Look, it's if you can get football punditry right more often than not, you're doing all right. Okay, it's a tough gig, and we all sit there having our opinions on who wins and who loses. There is a reason why the bookmakers have only one payout kiosk.
True. Something that was obviously really key to Chelsea's success this season was the fact that they had such a big squad to work with, and that Enzo Maresca was able to rest some players when it came to the Conference League. Might be a little less possible to do when it comes to the Champions League, so different competition altogether. But again, does that strength that they have of depth mean that they are capable of challenging on multiple fronts this coming season?
Yeah, I'd say Chelsea have got a squad large enough already, and they'll add and they'll move somebody on. They're obviously what will happen with Sancho. He'll probably go back, won't he, to Manchester United?
Yeah, that didn't work.
No, he'd done okay. There was moments when the season I thought he'd done really well. Then he went back to not really having an influence in and out of the team. Madueke gets back in, and Neto had started to perform. they're a Champions League squad. They'll go well and they'll get to the group phases, in my opinion. Come out the group phase, or say the group, it's not the league. They'll come out the league. They'll come out. It's whether they can be the team that improves a hell of a lot from before Christmas, and by after Christmas they've got a really good side, which we've obviously seen this year with PSG, who were nowhere near in the first part of the league, of the Champions League, looking like a winner of the Champions League. So there's progression there, definitely, with the age of their squad.
It's just interesting when you consider how big a squad it feels at Chelsea, when you hear Pep Guardiola and what he's saying about how he wants to trim down his squad, that he doesn't like to disappoint players that aren't involved in certain competitions. And yet it feels like Maresca's going to have to do with that a hell of a lot next season. Disappoint players, perhaps.
Yeah. I think it's probably been quite a common theme. Chelsea have added so many players, young players, to their squad. But they've got a lot of talent. They're a side that I do think there's improvement there. And this year has been a year really of sort of transition, but they've made the Champions League and they've won a cup. So Maresca and the fans will be delighted with that. Yeah,
indeed. I think it's June the 18th when the Premier League fixtures come out. I think that's right, at 9 o'clock. So you don't have that long, really, because we're in June now.
Yeah.
How has that come around so quick?
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.